You can damage the relationships with your family and your team. Like, you really can damage relationships if you don't get a handle on this.
When you find yourself feeling frustrated, angry, or annoyed, just remember that thoughts lead to feelings, feelings lead to actions.
You start treating them like idiots, and what do?
They act like
They
idiots.
act like idiots.
And you kiss that picture of yourself next to the bed, don't you?
Right, that's harsh. If I meet 3 bastards in a day, the real bastard is me. As a business owner, so much stress and frustration comes because of the way you think. And you have the power to actually dramatically shift your results by thinking better. Tune into today's episode where we dig into how to think like a winner in a way that will lower your stress levels and make your business much more profitable. Hi there, I'm Tony Fraser-Jones, host of the Profitable Tradie Podcast, beaming in with my good mate Phil Smith today. Phil, how you going?
Always good, mate. Always good. Ready to roll?
Yeah.
As usual.
That's good stuff. What are we talking about today, Chief?
Mate, we are talking about the results and stress you experience in business and life, and how unless you dig down and examine the thoughts that you have about those situations that you find yourself in, it can be super hard to create real change.
100%. And this is absolutely massive. How we think about things is everything. And we actually have to start thinking about our thinking, which is a bit challenging. And it might get a bit D&M today, a bit deep and meaningful.
A little bit existential there.
Yeah, a little bit existential.
Yeah, another good word for you.
That's another good word. You're on a roll with good words on the podcast. You're doing well.
Oh, mate, you got to get one of those word of the day things.
What was the last one? Last episode?
Symbiotic. Yeah.
Now existential.
Yeah, guys, I don't use these words that often, actually. That's why it's funny.
If you use that out on site, we'll beat your head in.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
Fair enough. But if you're listening, you probably think that this is obvious. Your thoughts are important. But it's not actually that obvious, because a lot of what we think about is actually quite subconscious, and it's stuff we're not really aware of. But it turns out it can be a bit of a problem if we don't think well.
Yeah, 100%. I suppose the problem here is that most of us make decisions in our business and life around how we actually feel about what's going on, you know, whether you're frustrated with team members, or you're worried about having enough money to make payroll or pay your suppliers or the tax man, you know, or even in your life, you know, people get angry with their kids because they don't know, you know, actually do what they're told. I know we're both victims of that at times. Or you get frustrated because they muck around on their mobile phones all the time, or can't get ready for school on time. I mean, there's lots of things that can trigger you, right?
That's true. And here's the big problem. We think we're stressed because of the situation or the circumstances that we face. And don't get me wrong, you know, some things are more difficult to deal with than others, but the stress we feel is actually a result of how we think about the situation. It's not the situation itself.
That's right.
And, you know, 2 people can face the same situation and have a different, you know, experience, different stress levels. So actually, in a real sense, the stress we create is because of how we think about the things that we're actually experiencing.
Totally. And I'm sure we've got a good story here.
So it's not so much a story, it's more of a rule, and it's called the 3 bastards rule. I know you love this one.
Yeah, this is my favorite story.
It goes something like this.
Often told.
Yeah, let's say you get up in the morning and you kiss your husband or your wife, say good day to the kids or whatever, and you're like, man, they're all, you know, grumpy this morning. Well, what the heck's wrong with them? They've been utter bastards this morning. And then you get to work and, you know, maybe you meet your foreman, foreperson or supplier or someone, and they're like really grouchy. And you're like, man, why have they been such a bastard? And then maybe you talk to a customer, you know, at Smoko or something. You're like, man, they're grumpy and demanding today. What utter bastards. And then you're like, if I meet 3 bastards in a day, the real bastard is me.
That's right.
Because I'm probably putting off some vibes that's actually rubbing people up the wrong way.
100%. I mean, the chance of everybody else having a problem and not you is super low. I mean, people look at their team and they say, man, God, way the team have been acting lately, I'd just get rid of the lot of them. I'm like, the lot of them, all 10 of them, they are the problem.
Yeah, all 10 of them no good?
There's a little bit of a common factor here, and it's you.
Yeah.
And Tony, don't lie. You don't wake up and kiss your wife. You wake up and you kiss that picture of yourself next to the bed, don't you? Come on, mate.
Right, that's harsh. I mean,
I'm just kidding.
I am strangely excited.
You're a handsome man, but hey, look, we digress.
Yeah, we do. Thanks, bro. I appreciate that. I'm thinking
got to have a dig now and then.
Yeah, you're my first bastard of the day.
I'm the first bastard. Well, at least I'm not the third, because then it would be you, right? So
that's right.
But hey, look, I think that story hits the nail on the head. And if we can't get a grip on our thoughts, you know, we're going to see everything the wrong way and run into some problems.
Yeah, I think what happens is you're constantly feeling stressed and frustrated with life, because you've got these thought patterns that just create emotions that are not really helpful. You tend to create the very situation that you're annoyed with in the first place.
Yeah, self-fulfilling
It
prophecy.
becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, because if you think all your team are idiots, you start treating them like idiots, and what do?
They act like
They
idiots.
act like idiots.
That's it.
And that's something you've created. You can damage the relationships with your family and your team. Like, you really can damage relationships if you don't get a handle on this. And life and business, they are not much fun.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they're not. And on the other hand, if we do get this right, we got some good upsides.
Yeah, I think what it does is, if you can really manage the thoughts you have about the situations, and you've got a lot more control over your life, and you build real meaningful change in your business and your life, because you don't recycle the same old stuff.
Yeah.
You build better relationships with your team and your family as well. This applies not just to work. This applies to your whole life, all the relationships you have.
This is big. I mean, like, you think about the thoughts here, Tony, especially with your team, your family too. It's funny. I find the more I call my son a good boy, the more of a good boy he is. But the more you say, "Oh, you've been naughty," the naughtier they get, right? Because they follow the title. So your thoughts actually dictate their actions. It's quite funny how that works.
Yeah, and it's always interesting how those characteristics tend to skip a generation as well. Like, I know your dad was a super good bugger, and your son is. So we'll let you do the math there, mate.
Oh yeah. You're my first bastard of the day. But hey, look, we're on a roll.
We are on a roll.
So yeah, some good upsides here, right? And like you said, things all become more fun.
They do,
and it's in your control.
Yeah, and this is the key message of today. And we're like business coaches. If you're listening, you probably know that Profitable Tradie is the business, and we coach plumbers and electricians and other service providers in the construction area. And you'd think we just talk about business stuff and how to build a team and how to hire people and market and yada yada yada. And we do obviously get into all of that stuff. But the stuff that really makes that work is actually understanding that to get a better result and implement that stuff hard, sometimes you've got to actually do some work on how you think about stuff and change what you believe is possible, and that's super hard. So that's and it's very powerful. It can be tricky, but it's very powerful. And a lot of the work we do as coaches is in that area, which is like more like a brain doctor trying to.
Well, I suppose that's what we're getting at, is people come to us for those better results, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, what we're going to dig into today is how those results are actually all, positive and negative, they're all coming from the way that you think. Everything. So I think we should dig into this, right?
Yeah. So here's the key message, I guess. The situation, we think the situation is the problem. So we have no money. That's the problem. We have problems with our team. They're the problem. We have challenges with our kids. We've got 4 kids. There's always stuff going on and frustrations happening. We think that's the problem. It's not. It's the way we think about the situation that is the problem.
Yeah.
And I think I mentioned, 2 people can think about the same situation and feel absolutely totally different about it. And the key thing is that our decisions and our actions and our results are often driven by how we feel, our emotions.
Yep.
But our emotions are not directly linked to the situation. Our emotions are driven by the thoughts that we have about the situation.
Yeah.
So I think story is the best way to do this, to be honest.
Yeah, go for it.
So I want to talk about a situation we had on a webinar we were running. We run a weekly question and answer webinar where clients jump in and we bust open the challenges and the frustrations they're having. And we had, I think it was in a room you were running.
Yeah.
So you probably know this story as well. It's the stuff
of
legends.
I was there.
Yeah. And there was a person, let's call her Lily.
Yeah, Lily.
Lily, not her real name.
No.
And she got on the call and she basically said, "My team are a bunch of C 4-letter word."
Yeah, and now just to
it's
totally
actually 5
pre-frame,
letters. It was like
there was an S on the end. Yeah. Just to point it out, guys, that word, I know it's pretty damn offensive. This lady's Australian, and over there, it can be a term of endearment as well. But hey, look,
not in this situation.
Not in this situation. She was pretty fired up, and I think the thing is they were making mistakes everywhere, not doing things the way that she wanted them done, and she had some feelings about that.
They were just not doing what she wanted. Yeah, lots of mistakes, rework, problems, bad attitude, and that was the situation. That was the circumstance. So she was feeling annoyed, angry, brassed off.
Yeah.
The actions she was taking was to give them a good talking to, growl them, like tell them off. That makes her feel better. The result was, the team thought she was just unreasonable, and they'd actually do less than before because they felt like she didn't really understand what the issues were.
Yeah.
And so, that's fair enough. If you're listening, you probably felt like that as well.
Yeah, I mean, you've probably done this.
Yeah, but here's the thing. What are the thoughts that are actually going through her head between the situation, which is that not doing what she wanted, and the feeling she had, which was anger? And, we got her to examine that and drill down into that. And the thought process there was this. This is really what she was thinking, and she wasn't even really aware of this. These guys should be bloody grateful that we've given them a job, and they should do what they are told.
Yeah.
That's how she felt about her team.
Yeah.
That was the thought she had.
Yeah.
Which then obviously drove all those emotions of anger, frustration, annoyance.
Yeah, and I think to put a framework around this, like the real thing here is that, there are results that you're getting or results that you want. And before that, you're getting those results because of actions that you take. And so the actions that you do create the results that you get. If you want different results, you got to take different actions. And I think everyone understands that, but the level we're trying to get to is that what causes you to take those actions is actually how you feel. And a lot of the time we act out of emotion. And so a lot of people will miss that. And then what they really miss is that what happens before that are thoughts that you have about the situation. And obviously before that, there's a circumstance. So the circumstance is a stimulus. Then you think something about that. Then you feel a way about the way that you think. And that feeling or emotion causes the action you take and then the result you get, even if the action you take is inaction. A lot of the time people know if I did this thing, I'd get a different result, but they don't do it. The reason they don't do it is because of the way they feel and the way they think, right?
Like procrastination is an action.
It is an action. It's the action of inaction.
Yeah, it's the action of doing nothing.
That's it.
And the thing about Lily's thought that she was having, it's actually creating the very situation that she didn't want, because the team were now getting annoyed with her.
Yeah.
And so they perform even worse, and they're more sullen and less motivated. Yeah. Motified.
Motified's a good word.
What
Did
is
you
that,
get
motified?
that from your word of the day?
It's like fired up and motivated. I'm motified.
Motified.
I love that.
I think we should get motified after this.
If they get motified. That we're getting motified. That sounds like we're going to the pub or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let's get
man.
motified.
I don't know.
I've seen you after a few drinks.
Oh, I'm 10 times the man I was before.
Yeah, well, you certainly think so. Anyway, so here's the thing: we can change this situation by changing the thought.
Yeah.
You can't change the circumstance. You can't just automatically make them perform better.
Yeah.
You can change what you're doing. You want to change your actions to get a different result, but you've got to work back up the chain. So if you want a different result, we've got to take some different action, which means we really want to feel about this a different way, which means we've got to think about it differently.
Yeah.
And so in this situation, we help to reframe the thought. So the thought now that she uses when this situation happens is, hey, as a leader, I'll figure out what I can do differently so that our team can perform to their potential.
Yeah.
Now, wow, think about that for a minute. As a leader, I'll figure out how I can do things differently so that our team can perform to their potential. So that's a completely different
different way of looking at it.
It's a positive future self-statement. So it's positive in the sense that you can, and it's about you, which means you can make a change. You're not a victim. You're operating above the line. You're taking responsibility for the results, and it's putting you in a position where you can get a better result.
Yeah, and I think the big thing here is that a lot of the time, we know, if I felt differently about this, I might act differently, but but it's so hard to feel differently, right? It's so hard. And what we're missing is that we often don't realize that a thought came before the emotion or the feeling because it's so quick. Circumstance happens, it's like split second of thought, and that thought is often very subconscious. It's right down in your plums.
Yeah.
And basically then what you have is
plums.
you have that big emotion which comes up, and that's very uncontrollable. Like anyone who's been angry before, of course you didn't want to get angry, but you were, and when you're excited, it's really hard to contain your excitement. Of course, it's hard to fight a feeling, but that feeling comes from a thought pattern, and that is actually quite changeable if you catch it in time.
Yeah, and this is the key to happy living and a profitable, successful business. The whole thing is about changing the way. If you're having challenges in your relationships with your significant other and there's frustrations, that's a feeling. Go back to the thought that's driving that feeling, and you'll be like, wow, that's not a very resourceful thought. How can I switch that up to be a positive future self-statement? Because you'll get a different result.
And sometimes this can be done in posterity. I mean, because look, it is very quick. You will get this wrong sometimes. And you'll stuff it up, and you'll take actions you didn't want to take because of feelings you didn't want to have, because of thoughts that you didn't want to think. And you'll catch it afterwards, and you'll be able to do it like, hey, next time when that comes up, because often these things recycle, right?
They do.
Your team's going to piss you off again.
Yep.
All right. Your clients are going to piss you off again. Your significant other is going to piss you off again. Your kids are going to piss you off again. everyone will piss you off again. So, you know, you got to notice these situations and think, next time when that happens, this is how I'm going to think about it, and it's going to cause me to feel this way, and that way I'll be able to take this action. If you just try to plan on a different action, good luck, because you'll have the same thought, the same feeling, and then you'll recycle the same action, and you'll keep feeling bad.
This is why people find it hard to make meaningful change, because they try and change their actions, but they haven't driven down to the root cause of those actions, which is the thoughts they're having.
That's it.
Change your thoughts, change your life. That's very critical here.
Yeah.
And in this situation for Lily, so now she has this, as a leader, I'll figure out what I can do differently so our team can perform to their potential. How do you think she feels now? She actually feels positive. It's like, I've got control back. I'm the master of my own destiny. There's some stuff I can do here. So her actions are now different. So now she's looking for solutions.
Yeah.
She's going to learn some stuff. Hey, she might have to weed out a bad apple. You know, she still may have to take some action, hard actions, and then the results improve from there. Improved performance, less stress, and that's how you get a meaningful change.
Yeah, that's it.
So we can choose the thoughts we have. Why not actually choose thoughts that give us a better chance for success and at least make us feel good?
Yeah.
It's massive. And I think it's Stephen Covey, who is dead just now, but is an incredibly wise guy.
He's dead just now, buddy.
He talks about the gap between stimulus and response. So, you get a stimulus, a situation happens, and if we can get into the thought process that's going on, that's going to give us a gap between when we respond, and we can actually choose how we respond when we change our thought process.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, like, if we get into how we can do this for ourselves, so I'd invite everybody, if you're listening today, I want you to think about a stressful or annoying situation that keeps coming up. You probably have one already in your mind if you've been listening this far.
Especially if you've come across three bastards already.
Yeah. But try to think of one, that comes up often. Not something that's come up one time, something that keeps coming up. And I want you to grab a piece of paper and write down all the thoughts that you have around that situation. And, try to really pull the lid off this, peel the layers back and get right down to what do you actually think. Remember, no one else needs to read this, so be brutally honest with what you really think here, and write it down. And this is going to help you, to get out of that instant and unconscious thinking, and then you can shine some light on that stinking thinking to reference my boy, who I think is dead just now.
Who's that?
Zig Ziglar.
He's stinking thinking. He's amazing.
He's amazing. He's the man.
He is.
And then what you can do is you can write down the thoughts that you want to have, from that positive future self. So rather than what I'm thinking already, like what do I want to think in the future?
And
with a positive spin.
And that's something I can control.
That's it. Yeah. And then at that point, what you're able to do is that you're able to start to pre-plan for when that comes up again. I have a tool that I can use in a way that I plan to think. So I think that'd be a pretty powerful thing.
Yeah, massive. Look, another example to kind of get into this is if you think about maybe in business you have a situation where you're not getting many yeses from your quotes or the bids that you're doing. So you're just not getting as many people saying yes to your job. So that's the circumstance.
Yeah.
So you think about circumstances, thoughts, feelings, actions, and results. Well, typically what happens is that's, you're not getting yeses. Immediately you're feeling annoyed. You're panicking. You're upset. You're anxious about having enough work. That's the feelings. So what are your actions? Well, you might drop your prices. You might price work like a crazy person. You're pricing everything that comes across your desk, even stuff you don't want to do. You're probably going to come across as desperate when you get to the sales process because you need work. And we all know that, the smell of desperation kills a sale faster than anything.
Oh, yeah.
So those are the actions you take. And the results are you spend a lot of time pricing work that's wasted. You end up winning some work maybe that there's no money in or actually loses your money, and the situation's worse.
Yeah, 100%.
Here's the thing. So that's the typical thing that happens based on the feelings, but what's the thought you're actually having here? Well, the thought could be several things. Maybe it's everyone else is buying work by dropping their prices to the basement level. Maybe that's one thing. Maybe I hate asking for the sale as they might not like me and they might say no. Or maybe it's how can my small business ever compete with the big guys in town? It could be any of those sort of things.
Could be.
If you think about any of those things, they're going to drive that frustrated, out of control feeling.
Yep.
But if we change it around to a positive future statement, we could say something along the lines of, hey, we are the market leaders who win work because we're the best service providers and we deliver more value to our competitors.
Yeah, you could say, the market's trying to teach me like what I need to be able to do to become a sales weapon, or you could say I'm a sales expert in training. Lots of ways that you can You can spin that.
Yeah, which completely changes how you feel about it. When you have those positive future self-statements, it's like, well, I feel positive about that. I feel good about it, which means, hey, I'm more likely to go and learn some stuff. I'm more likely to try some stuff. Maybe I rewrite my quotes. Maybe I spend more time building relationships. Maybe I update the image I have in the marketplace so that people can see value. Maybe I do some work on actually becoming a better salesperson, getting some sales scripts in place, practicing sales, doing some role plays, getting some specific sales training, a whole bunch of stuff.
So, Tony, what you're doing is you're taking some different actions.
Different actions.
Because you're thinking about it a different way, you're feeling about it a different way. Yeah. Now you're taking different actions. And what does that lead to?
More sales.
Which are different results.
That's right. And plus you feel good.
That's it.
You feel good.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, which is massive. So the key here is that you actually have the power to control the thoughts you have, which then control the feelings you have, which then control the actions you take, which control the results. You're not at the mercy of your feelings. You're not at the mercy of the situation, which too many of us in business and in life feel that we are. The relationship problem, it's a problem with the relationship. Actually, it's a problem with the way you're thinking about the relationship. Yeah. It doesn't mean the relationship's perfect. Maybe there are some issues.
But nothing's perfect.
Nothing's perfect. And way more things are salvageable than you ever thought possible if you change your thinking about it.
100%. So let's land this plane.
Let's do it. Everything starts with a thought, and you can take control of your thinking today to get the best results, both in your business, and you can banish that stinking thinking that causes so many business owners to have a miserable time in business and in life. So let's get busy and actually upgrade our thinking. Thanks heaps for listening, and we'll catch you all again next time.
See you later.